guys. It's been a long time, right? It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step two. I just wanted to connect with you guys and tell you a little bit about what's been going on these past 2 years since I started this. Wow. So why am I doing it now? Let's start there, right? I am doing it now because I'm in a place now where I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and doing exactly what God has called for me to do. Now, He initially called me to do this 2 years ago, and it was way out my comfort zone, but I wasn't in the position, or it wasn't even the position. I just was overthinking it and pushing myself to not do God's will, which is also disobedience. And we don't want to be disobedient to God. So let's do a little recap. Let's wind it back real quick, okay? So when I first did my intro video, I discussed on, I was in hair school and the different topics that I will be covering on this channel. Now I'm out of school. I'm out of school. Prior to going to school in 2011, I was stricken with illness, and I obtained a couple different autoimmune disorders. So I was 24 years old, and I'm young. What's going on with my body? Basically, my body not necessarily deteriorated, but it showed some age. So, I had muscle weakness and a couple other things. During that process, I had to learn how to walk again and a few other things. I became very much depressed. And in that time, I just didn't see how I could be any good or do anything, work, have kids, and I just, constantly question what is my life gonna be like if I'm now sick and my body is limited? So that contributed to the depression, and I was stuck in depression for a good amount of years. And then I eventually had a son, and he gave me a sense of wanting to connect with God more, because I really wanted my son to have a foundation with Christ. I had strayed away for some years, and I knew that I wanted to give him that, so he will continue to always know that God will always have him. And I started, attending church again once I had my son, and God started dealing with me on a few things, and, He started to have me heal in some areas. So now my son is of age to go to school, and mind you, I didn't work during this period. It was just him and I at home. And years later, it's time for him to go to preschool. And I said, well, I need to do something. I just don't want to be at home. So my Pastor Melvin Jr. of Glory House International, they do have a page, so check it out. It's amazing. But yeah, my pastor was teaching on purpose. And during that time of purpose, I took notes, and I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. So in my private time, I said, Father, what is it that I need to do here on this earth? What is my purpose? What do you want for me to do? I was clueless, and I heard it clear as day. We're going to do human service and cosmetology. So, great. Also met someone who's a very good dear friend of mine. Her name is Asanta Wilson, and she also has a channel as well. So I will put that down as well. And she's a big YouTube influencer in all things hair. And over the years, she was pushing me. And so she was like, hey, I got this opportunity where we can do the mayors of our city, Rochester, New York, hair. And I would love for you to do her hair, and I'll do her makeup. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I'm down. Let's do it. But she found out that I had to have my license. I didn't have that. Not at all. So I'm like, okay, I think I need to go back to school. So at that time, there was a place called RELC here in Rochester, and it's free education for trades, and cosmetology was there. So my thing is, I want little to no debt at all. and if I can do that in any kind of way, I want to do that. So I inquired at the school, did what I had to do, and they said, okay, well, come back and, we can do this other part of the process. So when I came back and everything was a go, I had to take a test. And when I came in to take the test, mind you, the administrator over the cosmetology program, he told me over the phone, like, listen, if you can pass with at least 60%, I will let you attend, because I had previously taken cosmetology when I was in high school for about 3 years, but I never got my license, and I let that discourage me, and I never did hair that much in the field. So I went to take the test, and literally I failed. And I'm like, okay, God, didn't you send me here for a purpose? Okay, I failed. So the teacher gave me another test. So I take this test and I failed that one. And I'm like, what's going on? No, really, what's going on? So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I know this stuff, but it's been some years, but I know this stuff, so I don't understand why I'm failing. And she was like, well, hold on 1 second. I have one more test. Okay. And so once she left the room, I prayed and I said, Father, like, you said that you wanted me here and this was a part of my purpose. Why am I failing the test? And I said, I need your help. I need you to help me remember the things that I have learned in the past, because I'm missing out on opportunity and I need help. So she came back with a barbering test. I don't know how many cosmetology teachers would allow you to take a barbering test. Nonetheless, I took the test and I passed it this time. So I'm like, thank God I made it. So they were like, okay, in June is when the program starts and you can come back and we'll get started with the program. So I'm like, great. But they never gave me a date. So like the second week I called like, hi, I took the test. When does the class start? And they said, oh, it started already. I'm like, what? How I missed the whole thing? So after speaking with the administrator of the program, he told me that I can start in September, since I have already taken the class before, and I'll start at that point and then I could continue the rest of the program. I'm like, thank God, thank you so much. So now I'm in, right? September comes, I get in class, and it was a struggle. I was late every day because I had to take my son to school, which accounts against my hours. And I also was in a lot of pain because I developed chronic pain due to my muscle weakness and the other illnesses that I had. And literally, I made it through all of that. I graduated with honors and I had so many accomplishments. I ended up going on the wall at school, which is like, some of the people who have graduated and are doing great things. Basically, I had gotten so many accomplishments. So I made it, you guys, and that was all by the grace of God. He said he will sustain you when you're going through or when you're in pain, and he sustained me through it, through all of that. And I remember there was one point where my teacher said, how are you going to be able to do this type of job if you can barely stand up? It was serious like that. And I said, God will help me. He will get me through this. And I guarantee you, you guys, since I've graduated from school, I have been able to stand upright and do my job for hours at a time and be able to do what I need to do, which is amazing because God has been sustaining me until he has completely healed me.